Hi, and welcome to The Current, the official podcast of Riverfront Federal Credit Union, where we'll share our insights and experience to help you achieve your financial goals. So sit back, relax, and get ready to dive into the current. Hi, welcome to episode number 3. Today we are going to be talking about fraud. But before we get into all that, we're going to do some introductories. I'm here with Tony. Tony is our creative director. Say hi, Tony.
Hey, guys.
I'm also here with Tim McLeod of the Clan McLeod. No, I'm just kidding.
I am.
You know, I love that TV show, The Highlander, and it was over the Clan McLeod, so I always thought that was kind of a funny. But anyways, here with Tim McLeod, CEO and president of Riverfront Federal Credit Union. Also, we have a special guest with us today. His name is Steve. Steve is the vice president of asset recovery. That title sounds pretty cool. It almost makes you seem like Indiana Jones or something. Like you're going out there and you're getting our stuff. What is it that you do for us here at Riverfront?
Well, it's exciting, but it's not that exciting.
No,
it's not Indiana Jones, that's for sure.
Come on now.
So I guess I'm looking out for primarily the assets of the credit union. Also, the members' deposit accounts from the perspective of making sure that if a member has a situation where on the loan side, if the member has an occurrence whereby they have a difficulty making the payments, what we'll do is we'll assist them and try to get them back on track.
Awesome.
From the other side of the equation, from the member side, it's really to do everything that we possibly can in order to make sure that there's no issues vis-a-vis the money they have on deposit. And what I'm referring to there is making sure we keep fraudsters out of the equation.
Wow, that's a very good way of explaining that. Tim, before we start off talking about fraud and getting into it, did you have any opening statements or anything that you wanted to say?
Yes, I do. No, as usual, Joel. We welcome Steve here to talk about something that's very important and what I think anyone would agree that is something that is running rampant right now, and that's fraud.
Yes,
there's always a bad actor out there that sits around and does nothing, and they want to steal other people's money. Mm-hmm. And we do a lot of things here to prevent that. But I think the bigger thing, and what we'll get into the meat of this talk today, is what can you, the consumer, do to protect yourself from those that are trying to steal your money.
Yes. Definitely want to protect yourself from somebody stealing money. I know I do. Actually, my daughter, before we get into everything that we're going to talk about, my daughter, she was buying T-shirts online. She had just got her first job. She was really excited. She's been saving up money. She got her first comma in her account, meaning she got over $1,000 in her account. So she was super, super excited. And so she was buying anime T-shirts from online from all over the world, which I was like, Gabby, you can't do that because you don't know who or where you're buying from.
Right.
But she was excited. She knew what she was doing. And then the one morning she gets up and she goes, Dad, all my money's gone. And I was like, what do you mean? What'd you buy? She's like, I didn't buy anything. All my money is gone. No. So we looked in her account, and part of the description was that she donated over $1,000 to somebody's GoFundMe account for their birthday. And we were just like, there's no way. I was like, come on now. So, of course, since I work for
$10 maybe.
I'm not donating anything like that. So for myself, I was like, well, I work at Riverfront. So I said, we're going to give my job a call, and we're going to take care of this.
Sure.
And so I called directly to the person in charge, and within minutes, she's like, okay, we got you. We've seen this before, and she took care of it. So I was very, very happy with that situation. And I know people deal with that stuff all the time.
They do.
So it's definitely something to look out for. So Steve, I have a bunch of topics here. The topics are account takeover, check fraud, card fraud, P2P fraud, which is person to person. We'll get into that, and wire fraud. So let's start with account takeover. I'm sorry. What does that actually mean? What is account takeover? Is that somebody coming in through online banking, or what does that actually entail?
Before we get into that, Joel, I wanted to just stress a point that Tim had mentioned. And Tim had mentioned that fraud prevention takes everybody.
Yes.
To prevent it.
It does.
So members, credit union, everybody needs to be spot on as far as recognizing what's going on with their account.
Yes.
And we'll get into that a little bit more right now, and we'll talk about account takeover. What is account takeover? I'm going to say within the last several years here at the credit union, at all credit unions, all financial institutions, and across the country, it's probably the sore spot and the generator of a significant number of losses over that period of time. And what has caused that is account takeover. So what happens is what you want to do is, in order to avoid account takeovers, is there's a couple of mechanisms that you can employ in order to prevent it. Number one, and most important, is if you receive an email, a text message, you don't know where it came from, a pop-up, an email, whatever, you have no idea who the sender is, and there's a clickable portion in that message. Don't click it.
Yes, yes.
Right.
Just don't ever.
It's
don't
2023, people. Do not click on anything in an email.
Right.
That's correct. So
if you're even checking your emails, I don't think I've checked an email, my personal emails in for years now. But yeah, don't click on anything.
yeah, like even if you think it's a legitimate message, you're better off just like if you believe you're getting a message from Riverfront, pick the phone up, look up our number on the website. Hopefully you have that on, perhaps you have it on speed dial.
Hopefully.
What you want to do is just reach out to us, and we could confirm whether the message is legitimate or not. Another good way to avoid account takeovers is using a strong password.
Yes, I agree.
Not password, password as your password, or, that was the biggest joke many years ago, but a lot of cybersecurity companies are recommending phrases. So, using phrases, for instance, Tim is an awesome CEO.
Yes, I like that one.
You got to add 1, 2, 3, 4 exclamation to the end of that.
Tony is a marketing genius.
Thank you. Thank you.
Right?
I
I like his passwords, Tony.
Yes.
So far, yes. Yes.
So really,
Hey, what about mine? Like,
right.
Joel's an okay podcast host.
You're an excellent podcast.
There you go. Exclamation.
Exclamation.
so, and again, I just jotted some of these items down. I don't want to exclude anything. That's the reason I did that. So another one would be to change and protect your online banking password. So you want to, not only do you want a long password or a phrase, but you definitely want to protect it. You don't want to write it down somewhere. And if you do write it down, you want to write it down you want to put it down somewhere where it's going to be secured behind some sort of password.
Yes.
And a long password.
A long password, right. And you should change your password every 3 to 6 months. How many incidences do we see out there where we're getting reports of information being hacked?
Yep.
And if they get your information from one venue, what ends up happening, we as consumers, we get a little lazy in using one password across all platforms. So it's not going to be, once your password is leaked out there somewhere, it's not going to be hard for the bad guys to figure out exactly how to get into your online banking.
Right.
Definitely. That's very, very true. And the funny thing is some people think, oh, I'm nobody. Who wants to get into my account? There's nothing. And it's not necessarily that they want to get into you specifically, but you become part of a whole umbrella of people that they want to get into. So if they get $30 here, $100 there, $1,000 here, $1,000 there, it all adds up for them. So it's more than just, hey, I'm nobody. I don't even have that much money in my account. But no, whatever you have, they're more than willing to take, even if it's like $1,000 from my daughter's savings account. So that definitely want to keep your password strong and all that good stuff.
One more point too that I believe is pretty prevalent right now, and it has been for a few years now, is, and I don't know if we're going to talk about this in detail, but just kind of going back to your list of woes, is ransomware. And that's when they lock your files down, and regardless of, they lock your computer down, really. And then they held that over your head to get your files back, to pay them money. And it doesn't matter about really how much do you have in your account. You can't get to anything. And who doesn't use their computer for everything nowadays?
Exactly.
So anyway, I don't know if we was going to cover that or not, but just a point.
That's a very salient point, number one. And it's something actually that I'm aware of a situation right now where an individual is using a computer that is 15 years old.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's problem number one.
Is that Windows 3.1? What is that?
Oh, wow.
15. That's definitely Windows 95 or something like that.
98 is
They might be using,
worse.
they might be using punch cards as far as I know.
Tony, that'd be Windows 3.11. Because 3.11 was when the network accessory was added to it.
That is hilarious.
Right?
Actually, funny thing, I was at the IMAX theater the other day. I'm not going to say which one, but I saw on the screen an old Windows screen popped up. Now, I don't know if it was a joke or what, but it looked like the computer they were using to run the IMAX was like a Windows 95 or 98.
Really?
I don't know. I was like, whoa.
Right.
But yeah, anyways, let's continue. But yeah.
My point there is that the individual, and again, I'm aware of the situation, it's ongoing, actually sent money to hackers.
Yeah.
And not an insignificant amount to unlock a 15-year-old computer. But the solution would have been to replace the computer every couple of years,
right,
and keep the security up to par. Mm-hmm. So there's just a lot of, that's, if you have older technology, you might want to reconsider it.
Mm-hmm. Kudos to the hackers, because I wouldn't even think they'd have something compatible with something that old. So they're really diving in deep and going back for that. Wow.
I think it's a fairly simple file.
Yeah.
Too, that they can do that.
Still, that's an old computer.
And you would think too that more sophisticated businesses, obviously financial institutions, I would say should be in the top 1% of those industries or those businesses. It wasn't 6-8 months ago that I read an article in one of the trades that a financial institution, we don't name names here, but they got hacked and their data, their entire organization was held for ransom.
Yeah, the scary thing is not if, it's a matter of when, and just being prepared for when that situation happens.
Exactly.
And we're fingers crossed.
Right.
But so that's account takeover. It's a scary, scary thing. Moving on to the next one, which is check fraud. Now, I can't tell you the last time I wrote a check. I don't know I can't remember the last time I actually cashed a check, but people actually still do use checks. And there is a good amount of fraud with them. Steve, how much fraud do you see? Is that with the older generation, the younger, or just everything in between?
We still see it, not to the degree that we've seen it perhaps maybe 5 to 10 years ago, but it's still out there for sure. It's just a matter of an individual. Usually it's an individual that you don't know that wants you to cash a check for him.
Right.
Yeah.
So under what circumstances would that happen?
Right.
So A first example would be a mystery shopping scam, whereby you might have applied for a job online and were offered the job as a mystery shopper. A mystery shopper will send you a quote unquote check for, let's say, $2,500. Your fee for doing this work, for being a mystery shopper, is going to be the grand total of $500. All you got to do is take that check deposited at your financial institution, take the cash, take $1,000 to one store, and take $1,000 to another store, and initiate transfers, a Western Union, MoneyGram type transfer. You get to keep the $500.
Wow.
However, that check is fake.
Right.
Yeah.
And what ends up happening is you get a call from your friendly neighborhood financial institution, and they will say, "Bring the money back."
Right.
And at that point, sometimes the tears start flowing.
Wow. Yeah.
And it's really a sad situation.
And here you thought you hit a little bit of a jackpot, and next thing you know, it's like, no, you didn't.
It's a very sad situation, and it's just one of those things that if something's too good to be true, usually isn't.
Yeah.
Is.
I heard they were
Usually
getting actually a little high tech with that, because people use mobile deposit now. So what these scammers are doing are emailing pictures of checks and saying, just take a picture of your monitor and do it via the mobile deposit, and we can do it that way rather than me having to actually send you a physical check. So that I'm like, wow, that's pretty intense right there.
That is intense.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. So definitely, once again, just don't trust them. You can't. Unless they're some way verifiable, you just can't trust stuff like that.
And there's variations of that. A personal assistant, they're going to send you checks maybe to purchase a computer. You're going to cash the check and send the money back, Western Union, so they can actually they can have a computer delivered to you.
Right.
The other variation would be the car wrap decals, where they'll send you a check, fake check. You take it to your bank. You send the money in to have the order of the decaling of your vehicle for advertising purposes. That's going to result in you receiving money on a weekly, biweekly, monthly basis. Is going to be a means to income for you. And then that check blows up, and again, you end up not in a good position.
Well, some of these I haven't even heard of.
Yeah.
One other point too, and I know it's kind of a little bit older one. What was that check scheme that was going around where you won this $25,000 prize, but you've got to go cash this $2,500 check and send it back to us?
Is that from the Saudi prince? I forget.
Right, something, the Nairobian scam or something like that. I don't know if that's exactly who it was, but my question has always been, so I've been doing this for a year or two. So my first question was always, did you enter something to win this? And they're like, well, no, I was just randomly selected. Well, if you didn't, one of my cautions would be, if you didn't enter into a sweepstake or Nairobian sweep cash or whatever, sweepstakes or whatever they're called, then the chances are real good that the check is not good.
Yeah. If you did not somehow initiate the process, there's no way that you were paid.
Right.
It's just no way. No way. It's too big of a world.
Weirdly, we've talked to people where I know, everyone knows that they never entered any sort of lottery.
Right.
But they will say that they did enter the lottery.
Right. Okay. Well, the lotteries that I entered, I did not win. So full and fair disclosure there.
Oh, wow. So our next topic is card fraud. So I had spoken a little bit about my thing with card fraud. Steve, what else can you tell us about card fraud?
When you think about card fraud, it's really a type of ID theft, You think about it, right?
Yeah,
that card is that's your property. That's your ID. So a couple of tips in regards to card fraud. Card fraud, I've been in banking for about 40 years. I've had bank accounts for even longer than that. I've never had an incident of any sort of card fraud. And I think
you better
that...
knock on some wood.
Come on, man. Don't
Come
do
on,
this.
Steve. I'm knocking
What are
on
you
wood
doing?
for you.
Don't do this.
I don't see myself as atypical. I mean, we see that on a daily basis because we work in a financial institution. We see the reports, et cetera. So what I'm saying is it's something that you just have to be. Again, our members, they're members of the credit union. We're members of the credit union. We all need to work together in order to make sure that we minimize losses. It's one thing to have a loss on your credit card or debit card. It's another thing to not look at your account balance for a couple of weeks. And then the horse has left the barn, the funds are gone. And then it's cleanup situation. So the best thing to do is immediately report it to your financial institution.
Yes.
Good words.
Do we see much of the chips scanning? With I see a lot of the wallets, the masking wallets that, they say to get so people can't walk by you and scan your information. Is that something that we need to, or is that something that you're noticing coming through? Like,
from my understanding is this is kind of when they're getting information from the dark web. When I say they, I mean the fraudsters are buying information from the dark web. They're creating cards. They're creating old school cards, not necessarily the chip cards.
Right.
And a lot of it is using numbers and making purchases. And we know how easy that is to do online right now.
Right.
Yeah, definitely.
So any sort of technology that can be implemented, I think is a positive moving forward. There's no doubt about it. It's only going to help. As far as the actual numbers, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say there hasn't been any sort of great reduction in those numbers, but I think the card industry, there's still some things that are out there that can be improved upon.
Okay.
New technology moving forwards. Who knows if we're even going to be using plastic in 10 years, right?
In 5. One thing to that, though, Tony, I believe, to add a little more color to it, I believe while we're still seeing a higher number since the implementation of the chip, is that we still have the scan, the mag strip on the back of the card. So what the fraudsters are doing, they're getting these bulk cards and they're loading the mag strip, and then they sell those cards and they go out and swipe them.
okay.
So until the mag strip and the mag strip reader is more or less eliminated from the retail side of things.
And that's a lot of the skimming thing that you can see at the gas stations. And
Exactly.
stuff. Yeah.
Exactly.
And those are very realistic. Like, it's amazing how it's really easy to fall prey to that stuff because you're not. It looks real.
Yeah. Well, I believe where the lane that we're in now, and I think everybody is in that lane is going to tap to pay, the mobile wallet in these smartphones and things of that nature. I believe that is probably going to be the litmus test, if you will, to start seeing some of this card fraud reduce holistically.
That's right. We actually, if you visit our website today, you can find out that
shameless plug.
Yeah, shameless plug. If you go to our website today, you can learn about how you can get Riverfront on your mobile wallet. All of our debits and credits?
Yes, sir.
All of our debits and credit cards are actually able to go into your mobile wallet, so that hopefully you don't have to worry about this card fraud. So on to our next topic, P2P fraud, that is person-to-person fraud. which is your Venmos, your what are other ones that are out there? Cash App,
Zelle.
Zelle,
Who we use.
Yes, we use Zelle. And
Go to our website.
yes, go to RiverfrontFCU.org and you can learn all about Zelle and how to properly use it. So, Steve, P2P fraud, how does that work out? From what I've heard, a lot of institutions, if you lose your money via a person-to-person fraud, it is gone. Gone.
Once you press that send button, you better make sure that you know who you're sending it to, because it is gone. It's like handing cash over to somebody.
Yep.
And it's really difficult. I mean, I'm not saying impossible, but it is difficult. If there is a problem or if there's an issue, it's next to impossible to get that money back.
Do you think people are viewing this the same way they're viewing like using a PayPal or if you're on your Amazon account where you're like trusting that that's vetted, as opposed to these P2Ps? They need to be viewed as, if you walk into a store and is physically handing, or walking down the street and physically handing cash to someone, that if you don't know, as you just said, if you don't know them, why are you even doing this?
I'm a big Penn State football fan. I purchased tickets online for those
college?
Games. I purchased tickets for that, and actually look at a site that actually a Facebook site, and it's not a marketplace site. It's simply a page, and what it is season ticket holders that are out there selling their season tickets. So I admit that I actually used Zelle or PayPal to purchase tickets in that way. However, before I did that, I made sure that I did my due diligence on the seller. What does that mean? Well, just looking at their history on the site, knowing that they've been on there for a long time, looking to see if they've had tickets posted previously, seeing if they've had any feedback. Very similar to what you would see like on a site like eBay. Mm-hmm. So if somebody's out there and they're brand new subscriber to that site, don't do it. Mm-hmm. Don't do it.
Right.
But it's just applied common sense is the way I see it.
That has never changed.
That's always true. So I think the biggest issue with P2P payments is really going back to the first subject that we've spoke about, and that's the account takeover. We will not send you a text message telling you that you have a problem with your Zelle, that you need to call this number, that they want you to provide your user ID and password in order to assist you perhaps they will imply that you sent money somewhere that you didn't, you didn't. So that is really the key. And that's where we've seen some issues with members in the past. So
basically, they're like scaring someone into doing something.
Exactly.
Like, if you don't do this right now, oh my goodness, you're not going to be able to do blah, blah, blah.
Right.
So it's the fear factor that they're using.
No legitimate financial organization is going to ask you for any of your private information via text or email.
No.
They're going to ask, at most, they're going to say there potentially is an issue with your account. Please give us a call. Not even providing the number. Please give us a call. And they will, but the best practice obviously is to look up or you already have their number, give them a call, say, hey, Tony, did you send me an email saying I've got an issue? Yes, you do. I'm glad you called.
Right. Use the magic Google machine and find the financial institution's website.
There you go.
And then from there, you should be able to contact somebody.
There you go.
I'm sorry, Steve. I think we cut you off real quick.
No, it's
Steve,
really,
we just do that on this podcast.
So this is how you roll down here.
Yeah, right.
Anyway, so we're kind of back to that item that we first spoke about at number one, and that is really if you give out your user ID and password, you're giving away the keys to the castle.
Yeah, you're done.
Yep.
Don't ever do it. Mm-hmm. And a little known, a little known fact about doing that, like we talk about, like with card losses, there are regulations that you're only responsible for. A lot of lenders, you're not responsible for fraudulent purchases made on your credit card or debit card. Sometimes your debit card, most times your debit card. But if something happens whereby you volunteered your information to a third party, any losses that occur under your account, it would be your responsibility. There's no recourse for that. It's similar to sending the money with peer-to-peer payment. Then once you send that press send, money's gone. It disappears.
How many times, though, do we see our parents, elderly parents, and I mean, Joel and I talked about this briefly. It doesn't have to be elderly, but, different generations have different concepts. My pop did not want to do anything electronic. He wanted everything either cash. And when he did do the electronic stuff, he'd ask one of us kids, "Hey, here's the money. Can you?" And it's like, "What? You're sending me to the wolves? Like, what do you?" But like and after repeatedly explaining to him, after being in the industry myself for a while, it's like, "Dad, it's safer. Just electronically is okay. You just got to follow these. Follow the common sense."
Yeah.
And it's like, but I have friends whose parents were scammed. Had somebody call and say, let me. I can help you. And as Steve, as you said, username and password, and boom. And they would stay on the phone for a while, making it sound legit, say everything's covered. And then next thing you know, gone. So, and it's not just elderly, but I'm just saying, like, I'm always asking, mentioning to mom, like, okay, you're on top of this, right? So just for that reason.
Yeah.
The unknowing and the highly susceptible are the targets.
Yep.
We have hundreds. We have hundreds of years of banking experience here at Riverfront Credit Union. So
probably just in this podcast.
Almost in this room.
Okay.
I know I got about 22 years experience.
Hey now. So I always say to members, any opportunity that I have, if there's anything ever questionable, and this goes to members, it goes to our frontline staff, it goes to everybody. If there's anything that you want to run by us, run by me, we're a phone call away, a text away, an email away. Please reach out. We can give you assurance that what you're doing is cool. We can tell you if what you're doing is likely going to end up a problem.
Yes, definitely.
Very good advice.
Very, very. So the last topic, and this one could potentially be the most expensive one for Lost, would be wire fraud, because I don't even know what the limits are to a wire transaction. So you got to be very careful with these.
Interestingly enough, this is really, first of all, when you press that send button, it's very similar to sending money by Zelle or Cash App. The money is essentially gone. The only way that you can possibly get those funds back is if the individual on the other side delayed in picking up the money at the receiving financial institution. And likely, if it's a fraudulent situation, that money, they were going to burn rubber down to get to that bank and take that money out.
Right.
That money's long gone.
They were waiting on it as it was coming in, actually.
Yeah. But with wire fraud, it's really not too different from some other things that we talked about, including with the check, with the secret shopper scam and things like that. Or perhaps it could be a situation where somebody's going to buy something from you online, Facebook Marketplace. They're going to sell you something for $10,000. They mistakenly send you a check for $13,000. They want you to wire the money back. Go to your bank, cash the check, and wire $3,000 back to me. So that's the way that sort of scam works. And there's also situations where homeowners are getting their email hijacked and wiring closing money when trying to get a mortgage, and getting false instructions and sending tens of thousands of dollars to who they think is their settlement agency. But in reality, it's a scammer.
Yeah.
Or a scamster.
Or either way.
Whatever you want it, right. So
I have a few other names for them too that we,
I don't think we could say those now, Tim.
We do try to keep this G.
Right. So it just really boils down to this. What you might want to just do that transaction while you're at the settlement agency.
Right.
When you're face to face with folks.
Yes.
Versus trying to do something through an email.
Yeah, definitely boils down to that. So that's our topics for today. Any final words? We'll start with you, Tony. Any final things you want to say to people?
Yeah, just due diligence. I mean, that's
yes,
and we're all accountable for that.
Exactly. It's almost like you have to verify then trust. It's not trust and verify. It's verify then trust.
Joel, what's your take on that? You don't trust anybody?
Oh no.
That's a whole nother topic.
That's another podcast.
Exactly. My golden rule is I don't trust you or believe you until you prove yourself different.
Right.
So Steve, any final words you have to say for the people?
I think the two important measures that a member or actually anybody can take in order to avoid bad things happening in your account at the behest of a fraudster would be A, go into your account and look at it on a daily basis. Okay?
Definitely.
And B, take every measure that you possibly can to keep your account secure. Change those passwords, use phrases, change it periodically. And if you do those two things, in my view, it's going to go a long way to protect your interests in your money.
And you can trust Steve because Steve, we knocked on all the wood we could possibly find. He's never had any fraud against him.
Right.
So we're going to continue to knock on wood for Steve. Tim, final words.
Yes, I do have a few. And this is just me personally. And when I have an opportunity to talk to groups, it be it students, businesses, and things like that nature, which I do often get to do. And like here and now, I'll say the same thing. So I have developed my own personal practices to protect my information and my identity. And they are simply this: avoid answering calls from numbers that you don't know. Let it go to voicemail. If it's important, they're going to leave you a voicemail, and you can call them back. So if there is somebody that you routinely talk to, they're in your contacts. So just avoid opening emails and texts from those that you don't know. Just like the call, did I ask for that email? Like us, we get spam calls and emails all the time, and that is a quick route to the delete bin for me, unless I'm expecting it or I know you. Never select a link from an unknown source, as we talked about earlier. If a lot of times you get an email or a text that says, "Oh, you won this. I need you to click on this link, and it's going to take you to our website, and you can claim it." Right? Mm-hmm. No, you can't. If it's legitimate, that means you entered for something, or maybe you was selected randomly. Look the company up, give them a call. Don't use the number or the information that's provided in the text or the email. Look the company up. If they're legitimate, you can find them. Yeah. Give them a call, and they're going to say, "Dude, I've never heard of you." And we don't give stuff away.
Exactly.
So there you go. Anyway, I think it was a very important and timely topic today. And another one, a couple of things we've been talking about is security and lengthy passwords and stuff like that. In an upcoming episode, don't know when yet, but in the next few, I think we're going to have our IT guy, Chris Reed, come in and talk to us about security.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And how can you develop and maintain the appropriate levels of security, including these long passwords and phrases, to keep you out of harm's way.
Yes, he will be excited to know that.
Right.
you guys don't know Chris, but Chris, he's like, what?
I'll let him know when I leave here today.
Exactly. Well, that's all we have for today. If you are a victim of fraud, please do not be embarrassed to call your financial institution and let them know. Call them right away. Make sure that is taken care of, because we will handle that. That's all we have for today. And remember, if you want to make your life easier, keep following the current.